All right, new setup. It's a little more legit. Put a little more money into this, and that's always a smart move. We have 5 viewers. Just fully invest. That's my logic. That's my logic for this podcast. It's just a fully invest when no one's even watching. But that's what you gotta do sometimes. That's what I'm gonna do with this. We got boxing's back. It's legit back now, right? They're on Top Rank where they're doing their best fighters versus taxi cab drivers. We're legit back with the legit fights, competitive fights, legit names, and now we can get to some serious conversation when it comes to boxing. Right now, Top Rank did the COVID thing, so I guess it was a moral victory, right? They had the moral victory. They didn't have good fights. They had one good fight, like legitimate good one good main event. That let's say they had 8 cards. They had one legit good fight. They had good fighters. I'm not doubting the fighters. There was skill on there, but there wasn't any good matchups. In the undercards, there was some, but there were mainly guys that weren't supposed to be in the undercard or weren't supposed to get even TV time, right? They weren't supposed to get it, and then they had some competitive fights. But besides one main event, there was nothing that they could really get too excited about. I felt like, and I thought it was really a missed opportunity by them. And maybe they could have, like I said before, they could have maybe just got some lesser names but more competitive fights, and they would have made stars of them. Because honestly, I think people were looking to watch, but when they didn't didn't bring any competitive fights to, I think people just kind of zoned out a bit. Honestly, and I think that's what happened. There was a missed opportunity by Top Rank, who's doing business as usual when you need to adjust and switch, and they're not doing that. Fights this weekend though, DAZN, right? DAZN, PBC, both releasing schedules going forward, especially through August and September. And similar business models, right? Similar business models. Only one thing is PBC's in the lead right now just by name power. They just have the name power of the fighters that they're bringing in with David Benavidez, with Leo Santa Cruz, the Charlos, Rosario, just name power that's legit big fights. Earl Spence and Danny Garcia just signed. They're legit. These are legit matchups and legit names. Okay, so they're in the lead. Okay, PBC, and I've been critical of PBC because they have a similar method as Top Rank, right? Where they're just gonna they're gonna carry their fighters. They're gonna give them the big names to taxi cab drivers, basically. And I'm not trying to not trying to talk bad about other fighters, but it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't. I don't get how this is good for the fighter. I don't get how making $800,000 fighting a fighter that does nothing for you, right? Nothing does nothing for your career. It does nothing. It doesn't build any hype, no attention. The fans aren't excited to see it. I don't get how that's a good idea, right? When you could be making, let's say, 3 to 5 million. You could be making 3 to 5 million fighting a big name that's going to keep you relevant. It's going to get you more fans, win or lose. I don't get the business model of just saying no, keep fighting taxi cab drivers, right? I don't get that. But PBC, for everything I've said, is attacking more with the UFC model, at least for the schedule, the COVID schedule. And I like every fight's going on, but let's talk about the fights this weekend, because DAZN is doing something similar, but they're doing it with lesser names, right? And maybe that's because they couldn't get any big names, right? They have maybe their biggest names on the card are Povetkin versus Dylan White, heavyweight fight, but those aren't even probably top 4. If you compare the PBC and the DAZN schedule, it's not even top 4 names, right? Those aren't top 4 names. But DAZN does have a good business model. They're just going to give you competitive fights. Maybe lesser name fighters, right? Maybe here lesser name. Maybe in England they're bigger names, right? Maybe in England they're huge names. I don't know. I don't think they're huge names, but they could be bigger names, right? So they're going to give you competitive fights. But that's really what I want. I think that's a good business model itself. I think it's way better than just giving stars at taxi cab drivers. It's more entertaining, more to watch. Why? I don't want to watch Alabama play a high school team. That's why I hate college football. Is when they play these teams that don't belong on the field with them and they beat them 60-0. Why do I want to watch that? What is the interest in that? That's what boxing's offering most of the time. It really is. And I'm critical of sports, my favorite sport, and I'm going to be critical of it. And that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. I'm still getting used to the camera. See, I set this whole desk up, the office and everything, and I set it up to where the camera's on my bad side, right? And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Ezra, actually don't have a bad side. You'd be incorrect. I do. This is my good side. Now it's not much better, but it's a good side. It's better than the other side. That's why I see it. But yeah, so that if I'm looking at myself while recording this, I apologize. But it's not that I like what I'm seeing here. I'm being critical of what I'm seeing. But the fights this weekend, let's get to it. You got one of my favorite main event names probably of all time, right? You got Sam Eggington versus Ted Cheeseman. Egg versus cheese, I like it. I wish it was a bigger fight. There was a giant fight poster for it, and I could hang it up because I like it. And in this fight, I believe Eggington is the champ going in. Eggington, so I've just started watching this, guys. I scouted him for this podcast. Eggington, he's limited. He's a very limited fighter. In my personal opinion, he's very limited. He's got to be going forward for him to be really effective at all. But he does, in this matchup, to me, he has the physical gifts, I would say, are more in his advantage. And by physical gifts, what I mean is power and speed. I think that he has an advantage in this fight. But what does Ted Cheeseman have that what I've seen is he has balance and ability in his legs that Eggington does not have. Eggington's legs are not great. Okay, they can move forward, and even they do that clumsy, right? And if you get him push on his back foot, he is done. Okay, Cheeseman can do a lot of things, and I saw 2 fights of his, and the first one he was going forward. It was more of like he was putting the pressure in, but I noticed the angles he was getting those are very good. Those are very good angles. It takes a lot of skill to get what he was getting on the inside, and I think it wasn't appreciated. And then in his next fight, he boxed. He boxed all around the ring. He used his leg movement, got away from the guy, never stood in front of him, and just hit him with jabs and clean counters and good spacing. It was just beautiful, beautiful performance. And then he was robbed of a decision. So this is the interesting point of this fight: does Cheeseman go back to a style of him putting pressure, which I think how he's gotten to this point, right? Or does he trust the boxing style that he can do, and it's very good, and he probably, if he does it, schools Eggington. Honestly, he probably schools him, right? But he didn't get the decision last time he did that. So is he willing to take that chance again and cost him, and take the chance again and cost the fight on the scorecards? Now, if I'm a stranger, I'm telling him we're going to box it, and we're going to show a little bit of everything. And when we decide to put pressure on, we'll put pressure on him. But why put myself in the spot that helps Eggington? Because Eggington wants to be on the inside. He wants to be in the brawl of it. Now, I think even if Cheeseman pushes Eggington back, right, he gets in a brawl with him, I think Cheeseman's going to win. I think he wins this fight no matter where he goes. He's pretty damn skilled. Now, he's not the fastest guy. He's actually pretty slow. I don't think he has elite power. I don't think he even has I think he maybe all right power. From what I've seen, he didn't look like he was the heaviest hands, right? But the skill level, what he could do, I liked it. I'm impressed. I want to see if he looks. I'm so curious of where his mentality is going into this fight. But I think no matter where he goes, he's going to win. But I think if he boxes, it'll be a little bit more of a shutout. I think if he tries to put the pressure on him, he's going to win a bit. He's going to win, and he'll eventually break him down, because Eggington's not too great going backwards. And I think he's going to be aggressive early and then start falling apart late. From what I've seen of him, that's what it looks like. His first 2 shots, like if you're taking the back step and you're allowing him to come at you and you don't have the best of legs, he's gonna land. He's got speed. His first 2 shots, and then he kind of loses himself. So I'm gonna take Cheeseman in this fight. I think it's a pretty interesting fight. I say like, it's probably worth the watch, whatever. But they're not big names, right? But I think you could get a good fight. This is on DAZN, right? This is a DAZN card in England, in Eddie Hearn's literal backyard, right? Literally in his backyard. Eddie Hearn's getting creative with it. I think he's got inspired by Dana White and the Fight Island and all that, and that's good. This is exciting. This is what boxing can do, not like really most other sports, is it can make changes on the fly, right? You're noticing in MLB that they're having a problem making changes on the fly, and they might have their whole season canceled, which they try to bring back. Now we go to the PBC, right? In the PBC, now this matchup, they're not big names. And it's actually the matchup was switched. The matchup was switched yesterday when Stephen Fulton Jr. was supposed to be fighting, he was supposed to be fighting Angelo Leo, right? And Stephen Fulton Jr. is a damn good fighter. I may have seen him before and didn't remember his name, but I looked him up for this card, and he's actually had like a pretty good the way he came up. We fought very competitive fights, very competitive fights, and he's just a very skilled fighter, and he's very balanced. He hits hard. He's very fast, good defensively. He has some flaws, but I thought he was gonna. Oops, sorry. Wait 1 second. Okay, we're back. I thought he was gonna have a breakout performance against Leo, honestly, because I think that he was a superior fighter to Leo in this fight. And I think Leo was getting the opportunity, I respect it, to take the chance to get the opportunity to fight another prospect, but I didn't think he was ready for this fight. I did not think he was ready for this fight, and I think that Leo he's tightened up his game, and I'm not sure if his body. I don't know if he's gotten his man body yet. It's just certain things that I thought there was pretty big holes that Fulton would have been able to take advantage of. It would have been a good breakout performance for him, but he got tested positive for COVID, and so now, which we're probably gonna get used to, right, happening in these fights, is changes in a week's notice or a few days. Tremaine Williams, who was fighting on the undercard, is going to fight. And I actually scouted Tremaine for the undercard fight, but I couldn't find his opponent. And look what happened. He's not fighting his opponent. He's going to fight Leo. Now, Tremaine's a defensive fighter. Not a lot of pop. Uses his I believe Tremaine's a left hand. I'm just going to say he uses his left hand. He shoots it in straight. That's his main shot. He kind of falls apart on the inside. On the inside, he's not the most effective. He kind of falls in, but so does Leo, actually. Leo, he's skilled. Like, you can see it. The skills are there. It's just not all together yet. He kind of has, he's like, I'm trying to think of how the word to use. His body's just not 100% there yet. It's not there I don't think to compete at the highest level yet in boxing. Now, if it's going to get there, maybe eventually as he get older. I think he's around like 25, 26 though, but he just, to me, just the way he holds himself in the ring, sometimes he just kind of like falls apart sometimes. He kind of like falls over, he kind of forgets what he's doing. He's boxing and then suddenly he falls in, and he doesn't kind of seem like he follows a steady game plan. This is a big break to me for Leo, right? Because I think this is a better fight for him with Jermaine. Because Jermaine's good. He's defensive. He's not the best defensive fighter, but he's a good defensive fighter. But he doesn't have a lot of power. Doesn't have really a lot of offense. Basically, from what I see, he's like one shot. He's a one-shot type of guy with a straight. I think I'll pick Leo to win this, but I think it's actually a pretty close competitive fight. I'll take Leo by decision. But it's a close competitive fight. It's a good fight. It's a fight. I think PBC was hoping for Fulton, but I think Leo might be have a chance to be maybe a bigger name. He's with Floyd Mayweather money team, so he's gonna get opportunities. Floyd's not the best at growing fighters, their management team, but I don't think we're in a sport where you can really grow fighters anymore. I think that if you got a guy that you feel he's ready, you gotta take the chance. And he's 26 years old, right? So you gotta win. You know what I mean? It's gotta happen now, and I think this is a good opportunity, and this is worked out for him, honestly, with Fulton coming out, because I think Fulton was too much for him. I think that would have been really one-sided, honestly. But this is a good matchup, and I think it's going to be close, and I'll take Leo to win just because I think he can work on the inside a little bit more. He can fight on the outside. He just could do more. I just think his offense is going to be flowing a little bit more, and I think that Jermaine is going to be defensive, but not really defensive that steals decisions. I think that he could get decisions still from him, from being too defensive. But these are legit fights. This is exciting. This is two exciting cards to me for boxing. And these are what, like, UFC would put on for fight nights. This is the equivalent. This is honestly the equivalent to that. So, I'm trying to get a better angle here. I feel like I look weird. Yeah, so that was, I think I'm excited for this weekend. You got big fights that were announced. Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia is a big fight. That's a huge fight. And it's Errol Spence coming off of a car crash that we weren't sure how he was going to be after that. And we're not really sure how he is going to be after that. And to fight Danny Garcia, who's a legit contender at 147, that just shows me Errol Spence he's looking to take over the game. He's not looking to do anything else, nothing that delays it. He's trying to take over the game, and that's the mentality you gotta have. That is legit the mentality you have to have, right? Especially that's what boxing needs right now. If his timing's off, Danny Garcia is all about timing. The one thing that favors Errol Spence is a big 147. He's probably not even going to be at 147 for more than 3 more fights. And he'll go to 154. Danny Garcia is not really a 147er. Okay, he's not the biggest one. He's a small, probably a very small 147. He really should be at 140. I think that was where he was at his best at. But he doesn't want to cut anymore. He feels like he has the power, and he's been competitive in all his fights. He's been really competitive in all his fights. But the only thing with Danny Garcia is because he's small, he wait later on the fight, he kind of gets hit with shots because he's fighting bigger men, so his energy is getting wasted in the early rounds to keep up what's going on there. And he usually falters late, and he's done that against all the elite guys at that weight class. So now with Errol Spence, who's probably the best guy at that weight right now, besides I don't know, Manny Pacquiao. The only thing that's like I'm worried about is just how's Errol Spence gonna look after this car crash. But if Errol Spence is Errol Spence, it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be entertaining just because they're styles, because Errol Spence is going to come forward, put pressure on you. And Danny Garcia's going to look to counter. It's going to be good exchanges early. But I just think that Errol Spence's size and body shots are going to make Danny Garcia survive towards the end. And he's going to lose. And I think that he might be stopped late. I think I will choose Errol Spence to stop him 9th or 10th round. But in a very competitive fight, in a fight that I really want to see. A fight that I'm very excited to see. I love they made that matchup. They also made Gervonta Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz, which Leo Santa Cruz's career I've never understood. He went from fighting great fights against great fighters, probably making good money, selling out, being one of the biggest names in boxing, and then he just disappeared. And then he just literally disappeared. And he came back, he would fight tune-ups, and he would fight guys that I didn't understand what was the point of it, and he would fight undercards of the main pay-per-views, and it's just. And I know he had sickness with his dad had sickness, and maybe that was it. But just career-wise, manager-wise, it didn't make sense to me. But he's back to a big fight, a pay-per-view fight, a main event, where he should have always been. He's going to fight Gervonta Davis, who's the top prospect in boxing, one of the biggest prospect names, and people think he has the most skills of all the young guys in boxing, right? I think now a lot of people are probably going to pick Gervonta Davis. I think he's going to be a betting favorite. I think he's going to have huge odds. I'm going to pick Leo Santa Cruz. I'm going to go the other way on it. Gervonta Davis has had one performance that's truly impressed me, and that's against Jose Pedraza, where he just put a beating on Pedraza. But Pedraza was competitive early, but he put a beating on him at the late. When he stopped him, not late. I mean, he stopped him pretty like the middle rounds, but when he stopped him, it was an impressive performance. But I cannot get past that Gamboa performance. And I think that Gervonta Davis goes up and down with weight, and I think he cuts. He has to do a lot of things to cut weight and all those things. And I think Leo Santa Cruz is a professional, and he's very skilled. And I think we're forgetting how good Leo Santa Cruz is. And I think that people are thinking that he's going to be too fast for him, too skilled for him. And I think that we're in for a rude awakening. And I think that Leo Santa Cruz, there's going to be points where he's just going to wear him down. He's going to be comboing off him off the ropes. And Gervonta Davis is going to struggle. And he's going to win maybe a lot of early rounds. But late, it's going to be survival mode. And I'm going to take Leo Santa Cruz to win that decision. I'm going to do a little scat. I mean, I haven't really done the research enough on this matchup, but just right now, my early prediction is Leo Santa Cruz. I think that Gervonta Davis, I think it's he's not dedicated to boxing. He likes boxing, he likes what it brings him, but I don't know if he's dedicated to it. But we're gonna find out, because I think every fight from this point on is gonna be legit. And there's a lot of guys in that weight class. We got Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, right? You got legit fighters at that weight class, probably the best weight class in boxing right now as far as like competitiveness and the best fights you could possibly make. It legitimately is. There's a big rumor going around that I had to address. Huge. And that's Conor McGregor coming back to boxing. Conor McGregor is rumored to be setting up to fight Manny Pacquiao in the boxing ring. Conor McGregor had a boxing fight, we all know this. Fought Floyd Mayweather. He got stopped. It was more competitive than people thought. I thought that Floyd carried him, but we're going to find out, because if Floyd carried him, right, I don't think Pacquiao's going to carry him. I don't think Pacquiao has any interest in that. I don't think Floyd could do that, I think, personally, for his brand. It's like he wanted to make it look like, hey, look, you didn't waste your money. and I stopped him. I was aggressive, right? It was good for his narrative. For Manny Pacquiao, it does no good to go rounds with Conor McGregor. It looks more effective if he blows him out, and then he says, well, look, I did what Floyd couldn't. Floyd struggled with this guy, and I just blew him out, right? So I think that Pacquiao's going to put it on Conor. That's my prediction. That Pacquiao's just going to put it on him, and Conor will not be able to get away from those shots, and the angles will be too much. That's what I think. But like I said that Floyd was going to beat him in 2 rounds, and it didn't happen. Now, I think Floyd carried him, like I said. But we're going to find out, because if Conor McGregor gives Pacquiao rounds, and he goes distance, or he wins, or he does something like that, then that was a legit fight against Floyd. And all this happens is the winner's going to fight Floyd. That's all that's going to happen here. This is just a setup for the winner to fight Floyd. And when that happens, the winner's going to fight Floyd, and that'll be a mega fight too. So this is just a payday for everyone. And if this happens, I legit don't see Conor going back to MMA. I don't think Khabib wants to fight him. I think Khabib is a guy that's a true man of his word, and he doesn't want to fight him no more. And now if Khabib loses to Justin Gaethje, and then I think Gaethje would fight him, but honestly, the best way this works out, right? The best way this works out for Conor, right, is that Gaethje beats Khabib. Because Conor can still do the boxing thing, not worry about working on takedown defense, not worry about the other parts of the game, and just be working his hands, and then go fight Gaethje, which he's already working his hands in a stand-up, and that's most likely going to be a stand-up fight. He would have to get used to, get back to blocking kicks, stuff like that, but Conor's been doing that for a long time. I think he could adjust quickly, fight Gaethje, and then fight Floyd Mayweather. And then he leaves with another probably $220 million of paydays for the fights. So that's honestly the best way this could go for him. The worst thing to happen is he loses to Pacquiao, Khabib wins, right? The Floyd fight's gone, and the Khabib fight, well, he's got to get in the right mind frame to even have it. If they even do it, or if they give Khabib GSP, then he's out on that fight. So it's a definite gamble here to switch, but it's the biggest payday he could probably possibly get right now is versus Pacquiao or Mayweather, right? And probably more against Pacquiao right now, because Pacquiao's relevant again because he beat Thurman. He's legit champ. And I don't know if they're probably legit going to put the title on the line. I'm guessing this fight, no, because Pacquiao's the champ at 147. Conor's not cutting at 147 for this fight. So there's going to fight at 154, most like 155, right? And it's interesting they're doing this fight. They're going to do this fight without a crowd. That's going to take some of the money away. It's hard to come across money in fighting right now. It really is. It's even Canelo's having a problem with it because he's got to give up that gate revenue. But if Conor and Pacquiao fight, everyone's going to watch. So the pay-per-view revenue is going to be insane. If this legit is happening, we're literally going off a tweet here of this guy saying, I accept in, I don't know what the Filipino language is called, but in that language, right, that they speak. That's what we're going off of. But I think, like I said, they've been talking about that for a while. That's always been around. They've always been circling each other. And I think that's honestly like a fun matchup other than Floyd. Like, Pacquiao's going to go right at Conor. Like, Conor will get a chance to try to hit Pacquiao because he's going to go right at him, and he's bigger than him for sure. He's bigger. If he's bigger than Floyd, he's for sure bigger than Manny Pacquiao. But Manny Pacquiao hits so much harder and faster, so much harder than Floyd, and he's going to combo. I don't know. That's a fun matchup. I mean, I can't. I don't think I don't like some of these matchups when they bring them up, but that one I'm interested. You got me in. You put the bait out there, and I bit. But yeah. So boxing's back, and that's exciting. And MMA is doing pretty good. This is a little bit of a slow month, right? You got Stipe versus DC, which I think DC's going to struggle in because how's he going to stop those body shots? He's had this problem with those body shots since Anderson Silva, since all these guys, since John Jones. He's always had a problem with body shots, and Stipe figured that out. And I just don't know what DC's going to do to counter that. He's going to have to look to land early when Stipe goes to the body, and he's going to hopefully that gets some opportunity for a heavy right hand. But if it doesn't, we start going late again. Stipe plays smart and then starts hitting it late, and it's over. And then he's just going to break him down again. Good. I'm excited. I'm back. Higher quality. Let's get the camera on this side next time. But it's good to be back. Thanks for watching the weigh-in.